The sound of the thunder outside almost drowned out the words that changed my life forever. My best friend stood near the bedroom window, her overnight bag resting beside the door, her eyes carrying a mixture of fear, determination, and hope. She smiled nervously and whispered, "Win the bet, and I'll do anything you want." At that moment, I thought she was joking. I had no idea that those words would lead us into one of the most emotional chapters of our lives, a journey that had nothing to do with promises, rewards, or impossible wishes, but everything to do with loyalty, healing, and discovering what truly matters when life gives you only one chance to hold on to the people you love. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of genuine friendship, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Echoes of Hope to become part of our growing family. My name is Rowan Mercer, and at 19 years old, I thought I understood what friendship meant. I believed it was about laughter, secrets, shared classes, and helping each other through difficult exams. But I soon learned that friendship becomes something entirely different when pain enters the picture, when dreams begin falling apart, and when someone you care about is quietly carrying a burden too heavy for them to bear alone. It was a bright spring afternoon when my best friend, Selene Hartwell, arrived at my house carrying more than just a backpack. She carried exhaustion in her posture and sadness behind her smile. Selene had always been the strongest person I knew. She was the kind of girl who made everyone laugh, who stayed after school to tutor struggling students, who volunteered at community events, and who never complained, even when life seemed unfair. But that year had been cruel to her. Her mother had lost her job unexpectedly, medical bills from her father's treatment had piled up, and their family was struggling to keep their home. Selene never talked openly about their financial situation, but I noticed the changes. She stopped buying lunch at school. She wore the same jackets repeatedly. She avoided conversations about college applications because she feared she wouldn't be able to afford tuition. When she arrived at my house that afternoon, she asked if she could stay for a few days because repairs were being done in their apartment building. My parents welcomed her warmly, and for the first time in weeks, I saw a small piece of her old self return. The sun poured through the windows as we spent the day reminiscing about childhood memories. We watched old videos, laughed at embarrassing photographs, and shared stories we had told each other dozens of times before. Yet underneath her laughter, I sensed something unresolved. That evening, after dinner, we sat outside on the porch watching birds glide across the sky. The neighborhood was peaceful, and the gentle breeze carried the scent of freshly cut grass. It felt like one of those rare moments when the world pauses long enough for people to breathe again. That was when Selene mentioned the academic competition. Our city had organized a regional innovation challenge with a substantial scholarship prize. The winner would receive enough funding to pay for university tuition, educational supplies, and additional financial support. Selene had applied months earlier. So had I. Only one person could win. I expected the competition to become awkward between us, but instead she smiled and told me she believed I had a real chance. Then she said those unforgettable words. "Win the bet, and I'll do anything you want." At first, we both laughed. It sounded playful and harmless, like something friends say without thinking too deeply about it. But later that night, lying awake in my room, I kept thinking about what she truly meant. Selene wasn't talking about favors or silly challenges. She was talking about gratitude. She was talking about hope. She was telling me that if I won and somehow found a way to help her family, she would spend the rest of her life trying to repay kindness she believed she didn't deserve. That realization stayed with me. The competition approached quickly, and preparation became intense. Participants had to present solutions addressing local environmental issues. Weeks passed as I researched, designed presentations, and practiced speeches repeatedly. Meanwhile, Selene continued helping me. She reviewed my notes. She listened to my rehearsals. She offered suggestions. She encouraged me whenever I doubted myself. The strange thing was that she had every reason to focus entirely on herself. She needed that scholarship more than anyone. Yet she chose friendship over competition. One afternoon, while organizing papers in the study room, I accidentally discovered an envelope that had fallen from her notebook. Inside were overdue payment notices, hospital invoices, letters requesting immediate responses. I felt my heart sink. For the first time, I understood how serious her family's situation truly was. She wasn't simply worried. She was terrified. Later that evening, I asked her why she never told me. She looked down quietly before admitting that she didn't want pity. She said she had spent her entire life trying to appear strong because she feared people would treat her differently if they knew how much she struggled. She confessed that sometimes she cried herself to sleep worrying about losing her home. She worried about her father's health. She worried about disappointing her parents. Most of all, she worried that her dreams were slipping away while she stood helplessly watching. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The sunlight filtered through the kitchen window, casting warm golden patterns across the floor. Then I realized something important. The competition had become bigger than either of us. It wasn't about pride. It wasn't about proving who was smarter. It wasn't even about winning. It was about creating possibilities where none seemed to exist. Competition day finally arrived. The event hall buzzed with nervous energy. Students adjusted presentations. Families filled rows of seats. Judges prepared scorecards. I could see Selene standing nearby, taking deep breaths as she waited for her turn. Despite everything she was carrying inside, she still smiled at me. She still wished me luck. And somehow, that simple gesture gave me strength. When my name was called, I walked onto the stage feeling my heartbeat echoing through my chest. I spoke about sustainable community gardens, affordable urban farming systems, and educational programs designed to empower neighborhoods facing food insecurity. I shared personal experiences. I answered difficult questions. I gave everything I had. As I stepped down from the stage, I caught Selene looking at me with genuine pride. Not jealousy. Not sadness. Just pride. Then she presented her project. And honestly, it was incredible. She proposed affordable medical support networks for families dealing with chronic illnesses, inspired by her own experiences caring for her father. People listened in complete silence. Several audience members wiped away tears. Even the judges appeared deeply moved. At that moment, I realized something painful. No matter who won, someone deserving would leave disappointed. Hours later, the final announcement arrived. The host stepped forward holding an envelope. The room became completely silent. My hands trembled. Selene squeezed them reassuringly. The winner was announced. My name echoed across the hall. Applause erupted around me. People congratulated me. My parents embraced me. Teachers smiled proudly. But the first person I looked for was Selene. She stood perfectly still. For a brief second, disappointment flashed across her face. Then she smiled. A real smile. And she hugged me tightly. She whispered that she was proud of me. She reminded me about our promise. She laughed softly and repeated that she would do anything I wanted. Tears filled my eyes. Because suddenly I knew exactly what I wanted. A few days later, I invited Selene and her family to our house. Everyone seemed nervous. No one understood why I had asked them to come. Then I explained my decision. I announced that I planned to divide the scholarship funds. I would keep enough for essential educational expenses, but I intended to use a significant portion to help cover emergency medical costs for her father and support her college applications. Selene immediately protested. She refused. She insisted it belonged to me. She said she could never accept something so generous. But I reminded her of everything she had done. I reminded her of late nights studying together. Of encouragement during difficult times. Of loyalty when she had every reason to focus solely on herself. Friendship, I told her, was never about keeping score. It was never about debts. It was about standing beside someone when they needed you most. Her mother began crying. Her father lowered his head, overwhelmed by emotion. Selene sat silently for several moments before finally speaking. She admitted that for months she had felt invisible. She believed the world only rewarded people who already had advantages. She believed her dreams were disappearing. But that day reminded her that compassion still exists. That people can choose kindness. That hope sometimes arrives in unexpected ways. Months passed. Selene received additional grants inspired by her competition presentation. Community organizations offered assistance. Her father began recovering steadily. Their family regained stability. And she eventually received acceptance letters from several universities. One afternoon, nearly a year later, we sat beneath a large tree near campus. Students walked by carrying books and coffee cups. The future no longer seemed frightening. It seemed possible. Selene smiled and reminded me about the promise she had made long ago. She said she still owed me anything I wanted. I laughed. Because I had already received everything I needed. I told her the only thing I ever wanted was for her to believe in herself again. For her family to find peace. For our friendship to survive life's hardest seasons. And somehow, against all odds, it had. Life taught me that some bets are never really about winning. Some promises are not meant to be collected. Sometimes people offer the only thing they think they possess because they feel they have nothing else to give. But human kindness has a remarkable way of multiplying. One act of compassion inspires another. One helping hand changes an entire family's future. One friendship can become the bridge that carries someone from despair toward hope. Before we reach the end of this story, I have a special request for you. Please comment below with the words, "Kindness changes lives," if you believe even small acts of compassion can transform someone's future. Today, Selene and I still talk regularly. We still laugh about that strange promise she made while staying at my house during those difficult days. But now we understand what it truly represented. It was never an offer. It was a cry for hope. A silent way of saying she needed someone to remind her she wasn't alone. And perhaps that's what many people around us need most. Not money. Not perfection. Not impossible solutions. Just someone willing to stay beside them long enough to say, "I believe in you." If this story touched your heart, inspired you, or reminded you of someone who stood by your side during difficult times, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Echoes of Hope. Your support helps these stories reach people who may need encouragement today, and together we can continue spreading kindness, one story at a time.